uh, end user which is located in other companies or other locations of your company, you need to share your dashboard to any hosting platform. So here we have MicroStrategy server. So now, as I said, in server there are two flavors of server coming up. One is MicroStrategy Intelligence Server. Second one is MicroStrategy Wave. So as I said, two flavors of server. So now, in top of the functionality, in top of the features, uh, both the servers are absolutely same. But the only difference in these two is exactly. I'm going to tell you that. The only difference between these two is it is in premises edition, whereas this is a hosting or cloud platform. Is it okay now? Hello, hello,
Hello?
hello.
Hello, is it okay now?
Is it okay? Okay, all right. So this server is basically the in-premises edition, and the MicroStrategy Wave, which is a cloud platform. Okay, now it's just a term. What is in-premises and what is cloud platform? Let me tell you. You are a big insurance company or a finance company. In that case, you does not want to share your data to any third-party server. So even if there's a huge investment, you will choose your own in-premises edition. Just a second. Okay. So normally cloud platform, what happens? In cloud platform, you does not have to install anything. You do not have to install any software, or you does not have to choose any hardware or server specification, anything. You does not require to have backup policy, any supervision to your system. You does not have to bother about the power breakups, network connectivity, anything, because that all will be taken care of by MicroStrategy Cloud. Okay, MicroStrategy has its own server environment. It will provide you a subscription through which you can use your own repository, own virtual repository in the MicroStrategy platform. So you can create your own site, you can create your own deployment environment, you can create your number of projects, number of user groups. Okay, all the configurations that you do here, it would be completely isolated for you only because you have a separate subscription. So it's a kind of virtual machine they will provide. They will give a web-based control panel where you can do all those configurations and deploy your dashboard. Now this is all about the web, but in MicroStrategy Intelligence Server, it is good in terms of features. You can have a more reliability because you are installing and you are putting your data in your own machine only. You're not sharing your data to any third party or even MicroStrategy server. So it would be completely isolated in your environment. You need to set up your own data center. You need to have a high configuration machine for MicroStrategy server installation. For MicroStrategy Intelligence Server installation, you need minimum 32 GB of RAM in your machine. Okay, it should be a server operating system, and the port number 80 should be open in that machine. There are a lot of other parameters, like you should have a .NET framework 4.5 because it's developed in the .NET only, and it should be a dedicated machine where your MicroStrategy server will only be installed, and it should be running round the clock. So, basically a server environment are your own data center, and then you need to also have a public IP which would be mapped with this server so that your dashboard can be accessed from the outside of your company. Make sense?
Come again?
You should have a public IP mapped with this server so that your dashboard can be accessed outside of your company. Okay, one is public static IP and one is private IP. You know all these things.
No,
Hello, hello. Your voice is breaking.
no, I don't know.
Okay, let me come to that also. So normally, when you are giving any IP to your system or in your company, there are hundreds of systems are there, and every system has a IP address. So those IP address are private IPs. Okay, and in your company there should be an internet server where the internet is publicly connected, and then it is routed to your multiple machines. Okay, so that particular server is a gateway, you can say, and the IP address which you get, that is what the public IP. So that means public IP is a IP address which is unique in the world. Like you see Google, Yahoo, Gmail, every website, every application which is publicly available online, they should have a public IP address. And if you see your laptop has an IP address, but can you ping your laptop from any remote machine without any network? Can you do it in the internet?
Yes.
No, we cannot. Because
No.
if your laptop and another system is connected through LAN, okay, then only you can ping your system. But if they are not in LAN, we cannot ping it. We cannot ping by simply using internet, right?
Yeah.
But we can ping the IP address of Google. We can ping the IP address of Yahoo. Say something like this. Command. Okay. Ping google.com. See, reply is coming from, right? But tell me what is your IP address? I would like to ping your system, but I cannot because that's a private IP. Okay, so the IP address which we are giving in our system are the private IP, and that is duplicated with multiple system. But public IP is unique in the world. So likewise, and that is provided by the global internet service provider ISP. So you need to give the public IP to your MicroStrategy server. I'm sorry, I cannot get your question.
If we type my IP
Uh-huh.
at Google,
Okay.
it should give you my I should get my IP address if I type my IP at Google, right?
When you can write my IP address, so Google will show your IP address because you are connected to internet once time. So because you see, I will write here my IP address. So this is showing my IP address. Now it's showing your public IP address. Okay, it's showing your public IP address. So the difference between public IP address and private IP address, but this is not exactly my system IP address, and this is also not your system which is showing there, which is it is not your IP address. That's the IP address of the device through which you are accessing internet. The IP address of your modem or IP address of your data card. Okay, so that is unique, right? But this is not IP address of my system. If you want to see IP address of my system, you see here. You would see something different. I will write here the command ipconfig. See, what is my IP address? My IP address is 192.168.42.67. You got it here.
Okay.
But if you ping in your system also, you'd get some different IP address which is physical to your machine. This is physical to my machine and it is fixed. This is the private IP address. Whereas I have connected to through a 4G modem, 4G devices, so where I am accessing internet. So this is the IP address of that device. So this is public. Alright. So some this kind of IP address would be given to your server so that you can access or you can ping your server anywhere in the world by using simply internet. It does not require to have a in LAN connectivity. Now, so it is basically the intelligence server is basically the huge cost involvement. So being a trainer, we cannot afford any of this. It is very costly, both of these. For this MicroStrategy Wave, it is needs a subscription, yearly subscription, in which you have to procure it. You have to procure the server and set up your dashboard. So here it does not require to bother about the backup policy, the disaster recovery, the power failure, okay, the internet mechanism, anything. So you would access your MicroStrategy Wave from the online only, from MicroStrategy cloud platform. So basically these two are the type of server. Now I will show you how to set up MicroStrategy Intelligence Server and what all are the steps involved in the setup configurations before you go for administration. So today I'll show you the steps involved in the setting up the MicroStrategy server. So it's a very big deal. There are a lot of configuration you need to change while setting up the MicroStrategy server. So basically you cannot get the MicroStrategy Intelligence server downloaded file, the MSI file or the exe file anywhere from the internet. Okay, simply you have to go for creating a ticket in microstrategy.com, and in its customer portal you have to make a registration, and there you can request for a evaluation version of MicroStrategy Intelligence Server. So they will make a verification of your company, and if you're really interested they will give you the license and the link from which you can download the MicroStrategy server. And you can download the MicroStrategy server software, and they will give a weekly or 15 days evaluation license. After that you need to procure the MicroStrategy server full edition, I mean the long term license. Okay, now so in the agenda, the things we will be covering in this slide is setting up the MicroStrategy Intelligence Server, configuration and startup and connectivity of the MicroStrategy Intelligence Server after installation. Creating basically the projects, the folders, the repository, the metadata inside that server where you will deploy the dashboard. Creating project sources, connectivity to data sources, okay, uh, and then users, all the stuffs in the MicroStrategy, and then defining setup of MicroStrategy and creating a reporting environment. So these 5 steps involved, and that will be shown in this upcoming presentations. Okay, in the first, let's start up with the MicroStrategy Intelligence Server. MicroStrategy Intelligence Server provides core analytical processing and job management for all reporting, analysis, and monitoring applications. So basically, it is a very broad level architecture of your MicroStrategy. As you can see, we have uh, the end user, or basically the developer who works in the MicroStrategy desktop, and we have done that. Okay, we have done the development by using MicroStrategy desktop software. Now, after you complete the development, you need to deploy your dashboard to MicroStrategy Intelligence Server, which is basically a standalone machine, a high configuration machine where your MicroStrategy Intelligence Server is installed. Okay, so MicroStrategy Intelligence Server is basically a host which handles the request of the client and process your request and provides the dashboard services. Now it will provide only dashboard about the data. Where MicroStrategy Intelligence Server will get the data? The answer is it also has to connect to your database server. So in your database server, you can have a server for MDM, that is your metadata or master data management. Okay, one is for your data warehouse. So these are basically the database servers. This blue color line shows that we have ODBC or OLEDB connection from MicroStrategy Intelligence Server to database servers. Okay, now this request is handled through TCP/IP. Okay, transport control protocols, through which you can deploy your dashboard. It is not basically user request. Okay, you can deploy. You can just connect to a remote desktop of your MicroStrategy Intelligence Server and put your dashboard in the server. So this protocol uses TCP/IP. Now, from which the user request the dashboard to be accessed to their system is to the protocol needed there is HTTP. So MicroStrategy Intelligence Server enables a, a, a portal or a gateway through which user will access the dashboard is the web. So it is also called as MicroStrategy server portal or access point. So this is basically the access point to which user will request, and there it needs IP address, which is the URL of your server, user ID and password. So those user ID and password is mapped or linked to a specific dashboard or multiple dashboards. So when user logins to MicroStrategy access point through your user ID and password, they will be able to see the dashboard in the browser. So in that case, yeah, they need not to have the MicroStrategy desktop installed in their laptops, so they can see your dashboard through browser based. I hope it makes sense.
Yes.
Now, so this is the theoretical architecture. Now coming to the steps involved in MicroStrategy server. So first of all, they're not in sequence. This has to be there in the top actually. Configure intelligence server, which should be there in the top. The second step is create metadata. So we'll be starting from the four steps: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have started with the second, which is actually the first. So we have to configure MicroStrategy Intelligence Server. Now, as I said, you will get the link from the MicroStrategy partners, uh, which will make your verification, and they will give an email where you will receive a link and some code, which is client ID or cal licenses that can be used for MicroStrategy server installation. Now go next. Next, there are a lot of steps involved for installing this. This is basically administration part. Next, now it is asking to connect to metadata or database. Okay, basically database connection. Now you need to give the DNS and username password of your database. So you know how to create a DNS, use the DNS.
No.
Okay, so before I go to this, I will show you how to create a DNS, and that DNS name will be available here. So basically, when you are connecting to MicroStrategy, there are two approach. One is for ODBC, the second one is OLDB. In the MicroStrategy itself, we are giving the credential of SQL Server and going forward for connection. Now it is, but in MicroStrategy Server, it will ask you to connect to DNS. That means the object, the plug or the connector, which will give you the point, which will point you to MicroStrategy backend, the database of your dashboard. Okay, so I am going to first create the DNS. Then I'll just break it here. To create a DNS and to create a connection with your SQL Server, you have to go to control panel. Here we have administrative tool, and this is, inside this we have a data source called ODBC. Here it is also showing. Select a ODBC data source name that you will use to connect to the metadata repository, or which is our database actually. Database is also called as metadata repository. So if you want to create another data source name, click new. If you want to create another data source name, but ensure before that you have some DNS in your system through which you can connect to MicroStrategy database or your application database. So now I'm going to create a connectivity with my SQL Server, to which we have used in our uh, MicroStrategy as a connection string. So here in ODBC full form, you know what is ODBC? It is object database connection. Okay, and there is another approach, OLEDB. OLEDB is, so both the approach are used to connect to database from MicroStrategy. First one is ODBC, second one is OLEDB. ODBC is object database connection. You can note it also, and OLEDB is object linking and embedding. OLE, object linking and embedding database. So what happens in ODBC? In ODBC, in your local system, you have to, or in your server, you have to create an object which will be confined to that object only. The user ID, the password, the connection string to your server will be stored there, and it will not be visible to this information will not be stored in the MicroStrategy dashboard. But in OLEDB, we does not have to use ODBC object. In the OLDB, you can simply, in the MicroStrategy side, we can give the server name, connection string, user ID, password, and save it. So the credential of your database is embedded in the dashboard itself. Okay, it is embedded in the dashboard. So which is more secure than ODBC is more secure, because in the server you are creating a global object, but as you are keeping all credential embedding in the dashboard, so if anyone is expert, they can also retrieve those dashboard from the MicroStrategy dashboard file. They can retrieve those credentials. So you create ODBC driver, ODBC connection, and which would be fixed to your system. Server to server, it will vary. If you are deploying your dashboard in any another system, you need to also create another ODBC DSM there. So what is the full form of DSM? It is data source name. There are list of user DSMs here. So you can create a user DSM to connect to your SQL Server through MicroStrategy. So I will connect to our product database, which is our order database, which is there in SQL Server. It is there. Yes, see. Am I going faster?
No, that's fine. That's okay.
Okay. So we have, say, just assume we have asset management DB. There are few tables here, and you can see some data. Now, how this would be accessed from the MicroStrategy environment? So I will have to create a connection to this asset management DB. Okay, my database connection URL is localhost/Amit, which is my instance, and this is localhost to the address. Now this thing you have to give from the ODBC. Add a new DSN, and there are list of adapters or drivers are here. So in order to connect various data sources, like we have MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, okay, so various adapters are there or drivers are there. So you can choose your driver to connect to SQL Server. Like here we have PostgreSQL, MySQL ODBC, various drivers are there. So you can choose, this is SQL Server native client, which is for Microsoft SQL Server. Choose this one and finish. So it will ask you to give the data source name, which will be saved in the DSN. So this is going to be the data source name. I can give my SQL con asset management. Okay, I just given the convention so that I can understand SQL connection asset management. So this is my database name, and this is for SQL connection. Description is optional, and you can choose the server name here. Either you can select or you can put input also. Okay, so it is not showing my exact server name. My server name is localhost/Amit. So I can give it here. Pradeep is my system name, so I can keep it. Either it is localhost or Pradeep will be also suffice, because my system name is this one. Yes, Pradeep. So this is my server name. So if your MicroStrategy server, I mean if your database server is located in a remote machine, and in that case you can give the host name like this, or IP address of the server, and slash the instance name. And if you are located in local machine like me, you can also give localhost. Instead of Pradeep, you can give localhost/Amit. Okay. But for remote system, do not give localhost, it will not work. You have to give a IP address or host name. Then next, here it is not required anything. Yes. Here you have to give the SQL Server username and password. Okay. So you can choose here the username and password, and next, and choose the default database through which you will access the data. So my default database is, you can see all those databases which is there in my SQL Server which has been browsed. You got it here. Asset management is also there. So I got this asset management in the connection. If you do any mistake, you cannot go and see. I am knowingly making a mistake and I'm not able to go further because it is not able to connect to my SQL Server database. So to give the credential of SQL Server. Now I could come into this screen and I can see all my databases in the SQL Server. Next and finish. Here you have to make it finish. And here you will test the connection whether the setup has completely done or not. So test connection. Test completed successfully. Okay. Now okay. If there will be any problem, it would show failed. Now you see our object is created here. What is our object? This thing. SQL con asset management. So for this particular database, I have created a connection string. Yes, this is one time. Once you create it, it will be completely forever saved in your system.
So
Remember,
how about if you have several databases and any new database that comes and you want to do a report from that database,
yeah,
you have to create
in that case, you have to create another connection.
JSON.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, yes. And also, if you are changing the password in SQL Server, this will fail. You have to come here and again change the password in destination.
Okay.
But it is secure. This object is completely encrypted and stored in your machine only. So and also you, if you are migrating your server from say test server to production server, so in the test server you do all these setups, you make a DSN here in the test server and MicroStrategy install there, it is working fine. Now if you are moving to a next machine in a production server, there your MicroStrategy will fail to connect to database. How? Can you
Because the
figure out?
password, that, that password.
Your voice is very dim. I'm not able to hear you properly.
Because of the password.
Because of we have not created the DSN in the target machine. So in the production server again we have to create another DSN. Okay. So it is specific to machine. It is not specific to the dashboard source code. It is machine specific. When you are as an administrator, when you want to make a connection in the server, you have to first create the DSN and you have to call that DSN through the MicroStrategy. So at the time of installation of your server, make sure your DSN is already ready and don't you change the password. So our DSN, our setup is completed, and when you are installing the server, it will show the list of DSN available in your ODBC. Okay, so the specific to the database which you want to connect, you can choose the specific DSN of that database. You can choose, or else you can right away here you can create the new DSN also. Okay, because we are creating the database or we are creating the dashboard in the local machine, you can create the DSN from the ODBC earlier. Okay, So because we're also if you're migrating this new server in that machine, you may not created the DSN earlier, so you can go for new one to the same procedure, like we pursued in the DVC. You do the same procedure. Now again, it will ask you to connect the username and password. This is basically the username and password of SQL Server. Okay. Once the DLSL is set up for a confirmation from MicroStrategy side, it will ask you one time username and password which you have to give the SQL Server or Oracle or any database which you use, that database username and password. Okay, now go next. That means you are connected to your database. Before you go for installation, your database setup is ready. Go next. So this is that was all about the MicroStrategy database. I mean database connectivity. So now here another username and password you have to give. It is server authentication, MicroStrategy authentication. Now it is also one time you have to set. By default username will come of administrator. You can also change it to admin or anything, and password you can choose. So this would be the username and password to access the MicroStrategy intelligence server. Okay, after installation, when you next time open the MicroStrategy server, it will ask you to enter the this credential. Without this you cannot log into MicroStrategy intelligence server. So this username and password and the previous screen username and password is different. That username and password was for the database which is installed in my remote machine, and this password username and password is for the server which I am installing here. Next, any question?
No.
Okay, now here you need to give the basically the name of your server, and that would be publicly addressable. Select the operation you would like to perform with the server definition. So what you wanted to do, you want to delete the server. If you want to delete the server also, the entire instance, the entire data, entire services you have to delete. So you can choose the third option and go next. So the server active, everything will be deleted. Now you can create new server definition, so that as we are installing the server and we are creating the instance, basically we can have multiple instance also for the server. In a single machine you can create two instances, or that is two definitions. The first definition is your quality server, second definition is your production server, or the first one is your staging, second one is the production.
So it's basically like dev and testing, right? Dev, testing,
Exactly,
and production.
exactly.
So
So
you can create dev, testing, and prod, right?
right, right. So the exactly testing and production. So the entire environment is completely isolated to each other. The dev environment, the user, the metadata, the server files, everything, every single configuration is isolated to that particular environment. And in another environment, that is again separate. So the number of time you need to create a definition, the same process you need to follow. That number of time you have to go for installation. You cannot simply copy one definition to another definition. Okay, you have to set up and you have to pursue the same steps. So completely different environments, but yes, you can do this in a single machine. The repository of your server definitions will be different, but the server installation will be one. Server file installation will be one, but the repository will be the repository is basically the definition will be different. Okay, so here you can give a named instance or named definition. I want to give my named instance. First one is dev instance. Okay. At the time of development, we'll deploy this application and test it there. Now, if you don't want to give any instance, simply choose this checkbox. Use the active server definition. In that case, this text box will be disabled or read only, and by default instance, which will be the default, will be automatically taken. So we're going forward. So the existing server definition can be viewed here. You can see multiple server definitions. The initial active or the default server instance here is MicroStrategy Analytics Module Server. Okay, this is the default server name. So either you can choose this one, and if you have multiple instance or definition earlier, you can also see all those things will be listed here. So you can choose one also. If some instances need to be repaired or have gone corrupted, you can also choose that and go next, and that particular definition, server definition, would be repaired. Now go next. Port number. MicroStrategy server default uses this port number 34952. So you can also change this port number to 80. If you are choosing the port number 80, you do not have to basically give any other port number in the URL to access the MicroStrategy access point or web. So otherwise, if you're choosing this port number, default port number will be this, and uh, on the URL also it would be shown. Now there are some available projects which would be part of this, or there are available services which will be part of this server. You need to choose. Okay, at the time of installation. So custom analytics module, customer analytics module, finance reporting analysis, human resource analysis, MicroStrategy tutorial. So these are basically the available projects which you want to deploy at the time of installation. Okay, so I have some few applications which was set up in my machine at the time of installation. I can choose them to deploy, and you can choose this option start intelligence server when finished, so the services will be start at the time of completion of this server. Now finally it will take around 15-20 minutes for installation, and finally it would be completed. So when you finish, you can finish it up. The installation is so far it is completed. So what are the steps involved? First is you need to connect to database. For that you have to select a DSN, use the password DSN. The next is use your system intelligence server user ID and password. The third is you have to choose this application to deploy. Okay, so that was all about the installation. Installation of the server, and we also seen that how to create a DSN. But normally, when you access the data from SQL Server to this MicroStrategy, we have used the OLEDB, the object linking embedding database, which was storing in the system only. And here, uh, when you are connecting from MicroStrategy server to database, we choose ODBC. So server installation steps we shown, like then configuration, startup, connectivity. There are many processes are yet to left, so there is a huge slide. So let's continue here with tomorrow with this features. There are many more things to be. Your doubts will come off, and you will also ask. I'll be go more deeper to analyze. So then tomorrow we will show this and conclude the session. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sure. Thank you.
Right.
Bye bye.